Hello, Vincent Carroll speaking. On the 13th of May, the very first case of monkeypox virus was notified to the WHO. On the 21st of May, the WHO issued a statement in which it mentioned that there were now 92 cases notified to it from about 12 different countries. The vast majority of those cases came from 3 countries, the United Kingdom, Portugal and Spain. I went on to tell us a little bit about what to look out for, the characteristic rash with scabbing and all the various sort of high temperatures associated with the majority of viruses anyway. It also mentioned very interestingly that the vast majority, but not exclusively, the vast majority of cases occurring of monkeypox virus that were notified to them were from a category that they describe as men who have sex with men, in other words, homosexuals. So it also mentioned that the way you diagnose it, and I would have thought you diagnose it clinically, but the way you diagnose it is by a PCR test. So that much we seem to know about it. It mentioned nothing about mortality. It mentioned nothing about, well, it's far too early to say that as of yet, I suppose. We don't know how serious an infection it is. But it did mention that there will be many, many more. And I think that's probably pretty obvious. And that much we do know about monkeypox virus. It didn't mention, however, that the AstraZeneca vaccine is manufactured on a vector from an attenuated adenovirus from a chimpanzee. And that may or may not be important. And this video is making no claims. And this video, it's far too early to say anything about that at this stage. This video merely is there to create a level of awareness and a level of concern, and to stimulate research and accurate reporting into this whole area. So an adenovirus from a chimpanzee, it comes from the bowel movement or the stool of the chimpanzee, was used as a tool or a vector in order to create the AstraZeneca vaccine. And the reason for that was very, very simple. It's available, and there was a need perceived by many for having hundreds of millions of doses of AstraZeneca vaccine available to the public. And that could only happen if there was a simplified manufacturing process. And a chimpanzee adenovirus is capable of creating that simplified manufacturing process. So therefore it was a popular vector upon which to build the AstraZeneca vaccine. Now, what we know is that other attenuated viruses, and the adenovirus from the chimpanzee was attenuated or modified, and we are told that it cannot possibly revert back, and that's important, to its wild state. Now, what is interesting as well is that other viruses in the past that have gone on to produce vaccines, such as in the case of polio, there was an attenuated polio virus called Sabin, S-A-B-I-N. And it was withdrawn in Ireland probably about 25 years ago. Some of us will remember as children getting the sugar lumps, which protected against, with the drops of the polio vaccine on it, which protected against polio. And it was a very, very simple way of delivering that particular vaccine, and very popular with children, as you can imagine. But the difficulty with it is, in a tiny, tiny, tiny minority of cases, that attenuated, modified virus which would produce the vaccine reverted back to its wild state. And it only takes one reversion to allow human-to-human transmission, and that's very, very important. And therefore it was withdrawn and it was replaced by an injectable called the Salk. Now, despite the ease of administering things orally, it was rejected, and it was withdrawn and it was replaced by an injectable polio vaccine called the Salk. And the reason for that is there was a risk associated with it, a very, very small risk, where that particular vaccine, which was attenuated and modified, the polio virus, would revert back to its wild state. So attenuated and modified viruses can do that. And I'm just wondering, is there a possibility, and it only takes one case to occur, as I've mentioned, because once things are transmitted from human to human, then it leaves the animal reservoir and it enters into the human population. So it only takes, though, one virus to revert back to its wild state, and once it enters into the human population, then it spreads from human to human. Now, I'm not making any connection at this stage. I can't do that. Nobody can who's interested in true science. But it is a worthy question to ask. And it should be a focus of investigation, and I will say it, a focus of concern. Because we don't know at this stage. And the one thing we don't want is is fluffing and the prevention of stating facts in an honest and obvious way, in an honest way. We need the truth, and we need modern science, and we need that science to be published, and we need that science to be brought out there without any editing, any modification, any vested interest, or any manipulation whatsoever. There's something happening here that we don't fully understand. Hopefully it won't progress. I don't know. Nobody knows. And that's the whole point. Nobody knows. So until people know, people can speculate. People must investigate. That's very, very important. But as of now, at a personal level, I have a concern, and I want to share that concern with you. So we'll see what develops, and we can take it from there. That's all we can do at this stage. But let's have truth. Thank you very much.